Hey everyone, hope you are doing awesome. Welcome back to my channel PEGAhut with another video. Thanks everyone for subscribing to my channel, and if you haven't hit the bell icon yet, please do so you won't miss any of my videos. Please hit the like button and leave me a comment or feedback if you like the video or the way I have explained.
Okay, what we're gonna discuss today is about two feature of dynamic layout that is in my that's under my layout and container where I have got dynamic layout and layout group. So I'll just quickly recap on what dynamic layout can do. Dynamic layout has got this kind of feature like inline, grid double, and stack. And similarly, dynamic layout group will have like tab, accordion, and menu, stacked and semantic tab. So we are going to go in detail and understand how these two are going to work in real time so that you would understand and you can implement the same when as and when it comes. So to achieve that, what I did is, just to save some time, I've created a case. Here I've got two stages. One is the first is the create the default one which Pega creates. I haven't renamed it. I just kept it as is, and then I have created another stage called review. So the intention behind is create will fit the information, review will review the information. And also in the app layer, what I did is I have created couple of properties here. Now if I go to data model and I go to property, so I've created a couple of properties: first name, last name, and full name. And I have created two page properties. So if you see my address page, this is how my page property is. Now my page property has a definition called, in the data class I've created a address detail class, and I have also created a customer detail property which is a page property, where in the data class I have given this one. Now if I go to the data class, if you see this, if I go to this data class here, if you see, I have got address detail, I have got customer detail. Under address detail I have got a data model called and in the data model I have got some properties, and under customer detail and the data model I have got those property. And as you guys already know, for people who are new, I'll just take 2 minutes to explain here. So when in Pega we are going to create a page property, we need to have that property in the work class, and then that page property should have a page definition which is in the data class. Now that data class should have all the properties, so this page property can reuse those properties. Now where the idea behind why we need to have that property in the data class, so that whatever the page property you created, this work class or this work class or any other class, you can always reuse that by referring to the same data layer. So that's the whole idea. If you don't know how to create page property and how to reference that, you can refer to my a lot of video where I have explained. But I'm planning to also create a simple video which will explain on how would you do that, so that for freshers it will be helpful. Now I hope that is clear. Now consider these properties are being created. Now let's see how we got to use this dynamic layout. Now what I'll do is, to dynamic layout, I'll go to this section which is create section, and first I'll say, okay, so if you see by default whatever we have got a dynamic layout, right? Now here what I'm going to do is, I'll go to data capture and I'm going to bring a text input here. Now in the text input I'll just say my this will be my first name, let's say text input. Okay, now I've done it first name. Now similarly what I'll do is, I'll just copy and paste and here in first name I'll say last name. So now I've got two property here. Now if you see, if I go by default, this is how it's gonna look like. Now I'll go to my case type and test case type, and I'll do a save and run. Now the moment I do save and run, what it will happen is, you'll see this first name and last name being created. And because I have kept a default, that's why it has taken the entire width of the screen. Now if I just see, this is what the dynamic layout would do. So if you see, if I reduce my screen size, automatically it will reduce. If I increase my screen size, it will go there. So depending on your screen size, if you put that under dynamic layout, what will happen is it will shrink, it will increase depending on your width and everything. It will vary. Now what I need to do now this is what my default one would do. Right now, let me go ahead. If you want to change it to the stacked one, so this is where you need to come layout format. Now in the layout format you can do stack. Now as you know what stack does, it goes one on top of another one, which is exactly the default one. So there is no changes if you realize. So if I do refresh here, let me do refresh here, and I'll just click on go. So if you see, there is no change in for the stacked one, because the default one is always a stacked one. Remember this one. Now if I change this one to another, now for example if I wanted to make it inline, now what does an inline would do? Inline would basically set them inline. So the moment I change it to inline, what happened is both are inline now instead of stacked format. Now if I just save it and go ahead and test the same thing, so you would see a difference over here. If I go to refresh, now instead of stacked one, now it became inline. So now next what we're gonna do is we are going to change that into inline grid double. Now what happened is, if you want, so let's say if you got a requirement wherein you wanted to have two columns for a dynamic layout, then you can always choose inline grid double, and then automatically what this dynamic layout will do is it will take the entire weight of your screen, it will divide them by two, and based on that it will spread your properties accordingly, or the text input accordingly. Now because I have done inline grid double, so if you see, it spread it depending on the area size, it automatically spread them and divide by 2, and based on that it will be double. Now similarly what you can also do is you can also do inline grid triple if you wanted to have 3 columns. Now if I do inline grid triple, because I have just 2 properties, that's why if you see, it divided 33% each section. Now if you have more property, you can always do. So depending on your presentation, let's say if you wanted to have a stacked one or double or triple, depending on that you can choose the layout format. Now what I'll do is, now I'll go ahead and make it a default one. Okay. Now another interesting thing which we will learn is about a float concept in dynamic layout. Now here what I'll do is, so if you see this dynamic layout, in the presentation tab, what is there is I have got a float concept. So here if you see, my float concept is there. Now what so let's say if I have a requirement where I wanted to keep them, so at the moment it is on the left side, right? Because by default it will start from left side. If I wanted to float them to right side, okay, so what at the moment you choose float right, then automatically what it does is set layout width to auto. So what PEGA would do, it will set the auto layout width, and then it will float that entire whatever section you have put will be going to on the right, whatever properties you have put, it will go and sit in the right side. Now if I go and just do a refresh, so what will happen is those field is going to go to the right hand side and is gonna float. Basically it's floated towards the right hand side. Now similarly you have also float towards the left side. So if you wanted to keep something on the left side with this auto width, then you can always do that. So you can basically play around the float, and based on that the screen will move, or the entire section will move from left to right depending on your requirement. So that is just another thing which I wanted to discuss. Now what we're going to learn is, we are going to learn another one. So what I'm going to do is I'll make it none, okay, and I'll say let it be default, okay. Now the second thing which I wanted to learn is about the refresh condition. Now refresh condition, what I'll do is say, now let's say you got a first name, you got a last name here. Now let's say if I wanted to have a dynamic layout which will populate my full name. So what I need to do is I will create, I'll put a dynamic layout here. Now, okay, and this dynamic layout, what I'll do is I'm gonna drag one text input, and I've created a property called full name also. So I'm going to use the full name here. Now what I need to do is I'll just save it as what I need to do is, so this full name, right? I wanted to see in such a way that the moment I enter first name and last name, then I need to have that full name auto populated. Now there are many ways you can do technically. Okay, so you can put a action and event and do a on change and all this thing. You can do that, but you can also use this feature action and event. I will explain that action and event slowly one by one. But for the time being, you know how you can use refresh condition for this dynamic layout. So basically, what this refresh condition does is, depending on the condition you do, if that condition satisfy, then this dynamic layout get refreshed. Now if this dynamic layout get refreshed, what will happen is it will ask a data transform or an activity to be called. You can set the data also, so I'm going to show you right away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh this dynamic layout the moment I enter first name or last name. So here my condition would be first name, so it's gonna be plain condition, first name is not equal to blank. Okay, I would put a or here because I just wanted to populate whatever way if you put a first name or last name, I want the full name to be populated, so I'm gonna put a or here. You can put and whatever way you wanted to, but I'm going to put or here. Now if I say if the both are, if my first name is not equal to blank or my last name is not equal to blank, means the moment I enter, means it's as good as on change, right? The moment I change. So here I want it to be refreshed. Now when you refresh, how would you know? I need to set some data, then only you would know whether it refreshed or not, right? Here I'm going to run a data transform. You can always run a activity also. Here I'm going to run a data transform and I'm going to call is set full name. Okay, the data transform name. In the data transform, what I'm going to do is I'll create the data transform, and in the data transform I'm going to do is I'm going to set the full name equal to dot first name, okay, and plus dot last name. So here what I'm dot last name, and in between plus what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a space here, so that first name space last name is what I'm going to set. Now this is done. I'm going to submit here and I'm going to save. So you would realize on the screen so what I did, what I told is in the refresh condition, if first name not equal to blank. So the moment I enter first name, you would see this full name will get populated, because during that time what will happen, it will run the data transform, it will go to this data transform and it will execute that data transform. The moment my last name is again I will enter, it will again do the same thing. It will run this data transform, it will go, because I told or condition. Okay, now here I'm going to do here, and then I'm going to say I'll just do a quick refresh. Okay, and now here I'll say action refresh. Sorry, I did that. Yeah, now I'll go. So here if you see first name, right, let's say I put Srikant. Okay, the moment I come, see I just do a tab, it changed from here to here. The moment I put, now full name came, and the moment I put Mishra, then automatically the full name would be automatically updated. The moment I get rid of, for example, now if I wanted to just get rid of Mishra and Srikant, now what I see, if you see, I got rid of Mishra and Srikant, right? So if you see here again, Srikant, Mishra, right? Now what I do is I got rid of now Srikant. So what happened is you got Mishra. I got rid of Mishra. So what happened is you still have got Mishra. Can you tell me why? Because what did I tell? So I told only refresh if one of them are not blank. So first time when I got rid of first name, then I had the last name, right? Because last name was not blank. That's why it got refreshed. But when I got rid of last name, because they both are now null, that's why it didn't get refreshed. That's how it works. In the same manner, even if you put first last name, let's say you put last name ABC, so automatically it became ABC, and then you put first name XYZ, automatically it became XYZ space ABC. Now I hope this is clear, and how you are going to use the first name and the refresh condition. Now next what we're going to learn is, now let me close this one. So as you know, this first name last name, right, we here whatever we have done, now I don't want to see full name until it's actually been populated, right? Now how would I, so what is happening at the moment, as you guys know, that the moment you put first name last name, basically it goes in the refresh condition, and then it calls a data transform, and that's how it is going to populate the full name, right? Now that's how it's happening, isn't it? It calls this one and it populates the full name. Now here what I'm going to do is, here in this dynamic layout, I will say visibility only show where. So basically visibility means my requirement is don't show full name unless it is there, right? Now what I'm going to put here I can put either expression or a when rule. Now if I put expression, I'm going to call that as, you can click on this gear icon which will enable you to put all the expression, value, everything. Here I'm going to say full name is, so here I'm saying visibility, when I need to make it visible when full name is not equal to blank. That's where this will be populated. Now if I save it and do a submit, so now this run visibility condition on client, what it does is it basically takes the value from the clipboard instead of going to the server and fetching a value. If you don't put run visibility condition on client will improve your performance, because PEGA will automatically picks the value from a clipboard, not from the DB. Now we'll keep the run visibility client, and I'll do a submit and I'll do a save here. Now if I go to our case here, I'll do a refresh. Now if I do a refresh, now what will happen is, by default I'll have only first name and last name. Now the moment I put Sri or something and I put Mishra, so what happened is, because I put both of them, now my full name got populated, and automatically now I could able to see the full name. So this is how you are going to play around the visibility and when condition to hide and show. Basically the whole idea is, you know how we have a lot of you would use this in day-to-day life in every time, wherein you have to hide something, you have to show something. So this is where you are going to populate the visibility condition. This is how you are going to use the visibility condition. Next we are going to learn about the header attribute that I have for the dynamic layout. For dynamic layout, what we're going to do is, there is a way that we can display the header attribute. Now here, when you display the header attribute, let's say these are my name details, right? So what I'm going to do is, maybe just to make it a little better, what I'm going to do is, I'll say set layout to width to auto. Now here I'm going to, so just so that it will look good. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to delete this full name, as we understood the first name, last name. So let's understand this one now. Now here what I've done is, title I have in the display header and title. What does it mean? It will give you a header and title to your dynamic layout. Now let's say if this dynamic layout name as enter a name or something, enter the name. Okay, so at the moment I put here, you can change what is heading level. You can choose heading 1, heading 2, anything that you like, and based on that the format of this enter the name will change. Now because I have defined a title, if I go to action and refresh, what will happen? Automatically my dynamic layout will have the heading now. Can you see? Enter a name. I got a heading. Now here the second thing what you can play around is, here you can also include an icon. So in the title, right? Okay, before I go to icon, I need to tell you, in the title, not just you can put a text, but also you can put property, you can put field value, wherein the property might have this enter the name string value, and then that will also populate. So sometime what happened is, depending on the dynamic, we want this header not to be just constant, but depending on the dynamic the dynamic behavior, we want this header to change or name to change. So what during that time we do is, we created a property, and based on that we set that string in the property and use this property instead, so that whatever string you set, based on that value would come over here. Or sometimes if the header is in more than 36 character or 43 character, obviously it's not a good practice to put the entire header. You might as well put a field value, wherein you can use that field value instead of putting that all the big length header. Now these all things you can do. Now with respect to icon, what you can do is there are a lot of icon that Pega provides. Now the moment I choose a icon, so for example you got standard icon, you got icon property, constant property value, you can do a lot of things. Now I'm just going to show you an example of how to choose a standard icon. Now standard icon, let's say just like for example like warning, right? So if I use this icon in my dynamic layout, what will happen? I will choose this icon. Now here as you could see, if I do submit, automatically you will see that icon has come into picture, right? Now exactly the moment you use that icon is what you are going to see on the section also in the real time. So you can choose the icon. Let's say if you got some icon to show on your dynamic layout or something like that, you can always choose that icon. Now here the another thing which I wanted to explain is, so you got a body visibility where you can put a condition and it's exactly going to work like a visibility condition, which I am going to tell you in a while. Now header type, you can choose bar, collapsible, and also field set. Now let's say bar is nothing but is the same whatever you saw, it's a bar, right? Now if you wanted to make it a collapsible, so you can do that, and also you can put a condition on when you want it to be expand or whether you want it to be expand on load. So let's say for example I won't put any condition, and if I will say expand on load, so what will happen is automatically you will find this expand button over here. Now if I do action and refresh, and then you see that if it goes go here, and then you have this expand button. Now you can expand and reduce also just for this dynamic layout. Now similarly here what I told is expand on load, right? If you unclick that, so automatically it will be collapsed manner. Only when the user clicks on the expand is when the expand will work. Now I hope this is clear for you guys. So I hope you got a deep understanding about how to use dynamic layout, whatever I have shared with you guys. Now let's understand a little about layout group, as you also going to use that in scenarios. So I'm gonna tell you what scenario. Now let's say as you know that I have created two property, right? Customer detail and address detail. So what I told in my case, I have got two stages. The first one is to enter the value. The second one is to review the value. Now my requirement is, while enter the value, you enter the value here like customer detail and address detail, but while reviewing I wanted to show them in the tab format. So that's what we are going to achieve it. Now to achieve that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these two dynamic layout, okay, and I'll do a fresh one. So to get this property, right, what I should do is I should use this one, wherein you you need to use a embedded section first. So I'll drag an embedded section, put that inside the dynamic layout. Here instead of I have got multiple options. So I'm going to create another video and talk about all the details for embedded section. But for the timing, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about for this video. I'm going to talk only for whatever required. Now I'm going to do a use clipboard page. In the clipboard page, I'm going to use my customer detail. And here, instead of work, I'm going to choose the class as data-customer detail. So the moment I choose class as data-customer detail, whatever section I've created underneath should come, and this should be my source for my particular page. Now this customer ID, customer date of birth key. Similarly, here what I'm going to do is in the dynamic layout, I'm going to put a identifier, display header and title, customer detail. I'll say customer detail. Okay, customer details. Now I'll submit here. Similarly, I'm going to do another embedded section. So let's get a dynamic layout. Let's again get an embedded section here. And this time, instead of customer detail, I'm going to say address detail. Now in address detail, again I'm going to go for the address detail class which I have created. So I'll choose address detail, and by name I'll choose section as address detail. Now I'll do a submit. Now my all address detail came. Now I'll go here, put a display header and title, and I'll say address detail. Okay, details, submit, and I'll save. Now in the review, so this is my create view. Now my create view is all good. So if I just go and action and do a refresh, My create view is all good, no problem in that. Now what I told, my once user enters all the value in the review section, when they go, then they have to see in the tabbed one. Now let's see how the tab will work. So now I'll open the section of review and we'll do the same thing. But here, instead of dynamic layout, what we are going to do is go to structure, we'll get the layout group, and that layout group, you tell what layout group you wanted to do, whether it's a tab, it's a stacked one, menu, and something. So let's go the mostly we're going to use tab one, but that it doesn't it's not necessary to be true, depending on the requirement you should do. Now here what you should do is the next one. Now you need to create two dynamic layout under this, because you wanted to show them in a tab, right? So you need to differentiate between this address detail and the customer detail. Now to do that, what you need to do is you need to create, let's bring a dynamic layout first here. Sorry, this is dynamic layout group. Let's get a dynamic layout, and let's get the second dynamic layout. Here let's get the second dynamic layout. Make sure while putting, you are putting in the right place. So see how you got this dynamic layout under that other dynamic layout. You don't want it to happen. So this first dynamic layout, as you could see, the title automatically came up. So here I'm going to call it as a customer detail. Okay, and here what I'm going to do now, I'll do a submit, and this one I'll call that as a text as title. I will call that as a address detail. Okay, address detail. This is what is going to be my tab value. Now here again you do the same thing, get the embedded section, and use a clipboard paste. Here do a customer detail and by name, and here I'm going to go to data section, and I can go to customer detail, and here by name what I'll do is customer detail section. Similarly for address detail, get another embedded section here. Okay, and here by use clipboard paste, use address detail, and instead of work hyphen text, go for data hyphen address detail, as we have done the other one. Now let's choose the section address detail and do a submit. Now another thing, because it's a review section, I want it to be a read only. Now to make it read only, what you need to do is you need to go to dynamic layout, and here in the presentation tab you can't find anything in the for read only, because dynamic layout doesn't have a read only option. Now how you can make it a read only? So you go to this is my section right here. Now in the section, what you need to do is go to the presentation tab. Here in the option you can make it as a read only always. Okay, now this is done. Now do the same thing for the other section. You click on this section and then click on this presentation tab, make it a read only always. Okay, now it became read only. Now whatever you are going to see is going to be read only. Now let's go and quickly test it. If I don't need to refresh because it will auto refresh. Now here if I say customer ID 123 or something, customer name XYZ, date of birth 22nd July, let's say 1922 or something, whatever. Now line 1, line 2, and here city something, state something, country something, postcode something, and you click on the next step. As per my requirement, I should see them in a tabbed one. So that's why you see there are two tabs created based on whatever we have just explained. And in the first tab, you would see customer ID 2133 and XYZ. And this one, the moment user clicks on the second tab, it will show the other detail. So basically, when you don't want to have the flooded information on the screen, and you wanted in the user to go and flow across to see the information, during that time you might have a requirement to show them in a tab, and during that time you can use layout group. Now similarly, what you can do is you can say I'll just show you another layout group, and as you can you can try all the layout group. I don't need to go one by one. So another layout too, instead of tab, let's say if you wanted to use a anything like, let me open that. Yeah, instead of tab, if I wanted to use a stacked one or accordion one, right? So what you can do is you can just save it, and let's create another one, and probably we can just see that how does it look like. So I will give all the information just like that. Okay, And at the moment I create, what will happen? It will say, as you could see, it got expanded and this functionality. The moment I click on customer detail, the other one will collapse. The moment I click on address detail, the other one will be collapsed. So these kind of way you can design, and you can use the layout group. Now I hope this is clear for both dynamic layout and layout group, and that's how you're going to use in the real time.
That's it for today, and hope you understood clearly. Please hit the like button if you learned something or you like the way I have explained, and leave me a comment if you have any queries or feedback for me. It will help me to improve and also motivate me to post more concepts and videos. As I always tell, sharing is caring, so do share with others so people who do not know about my channel will be benefited. Stay tuned for my next video, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do subscribe and click on the bell notification for my new video updates. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.